Colombia and Brazil are two of the highest producing coffee countries in the world. So let's see which one's better, shall we?
We are Nick and Sam Simpson, and we've been traveling the world since the beginning of 2023, bringing you along with us. Coffee is one of our most favorite things to try around the world, and in this video, we decided to compare Colombian coffee to Brazilian coffee. Over the next month, we are exploring both Colombia and Brazil, so we will be trying local coffees to decide which is better, considering these two countries produce some of the most popular coffees in the world. We will start first in Medellin, Colombia, and then make our way to Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Woo, this might stir up some controversy, and we are biased. Colombian coffee is some of our most favorite coffee in the entire world.
But apparently they still serve to this day one of the best cups of coffee that you can buy here in Brazil.
Our goal today is to see if Colombian coffee is actually in fact better than Brazilian coffee. What do you think? To begin, we are in Medellin, Colombia, going around to coffee shops and trying Colombian delicious coffee.
All right, a little background on the coffee beans here. There are two types of beans that are grown around the world. The first one is an Arabic bean, and the second one is called Robusta. Now, Colombia is one of the few countries in the entire world that only grows 100% Arabic coffee beans. And the main reason they use the Arabic coffee bean is because it's like usually really fruity, nutty, and has like chocolate notes to it, which if you've ever had Colombian coffee, those are typically the notes that you get, and that is why you get those notes, is because they use that specific bean.
So we're going to be trying this Ritualis coffee from Medellin, Colombia. And this coffee is it was specifically made in the traditional Colombian style, where they are very precise about absolutely everything that they make. It is a true art here. Coffee number one to compare against the Brazilian coffees. This is like beyond good. Tastes fruity. It tastes like an almond with cherries and maybe like a little mango. Ooh, that's good. That's good. And all it is just black coffee. Nothing else. That's it.
So the process they just did to make our hot coffees was called a pour over, and basically what they were explaining was they weigh out the coffee, so they do everything on a scale, and the grounds have to be a certain like fineness. They call it en grano, and then after they pour the water through, they wet the filter, then they let that water go through, and then they dump it, then they add the grounds in the wet coffee filter, and then they carefully pour over, like in a circular motion, the hot water, which is at a specific temperature, because if it's too hot, it'll burn the bean, and if it's not hot enough, you won't extract the flavor and the caffeine and everything from the bean. So it's like, it's an art.
Off to spot and last spot. Our first coffee at Cafe Revolucion is a classic black coffee. And that tastes delicious. And you can definitely tell there's lots of caffeine in it.
Definitely heavier than Rituales, but really flavorful, still has those nutty and fruity notes. This coffee here in Colombia is kind of like a medium or a light roast coffee, but it still has like the full body flavors to it that you would get in a dark roast as well. So it is like the best of both worlds.
So the real question, is Colombian coffee as good as everyone says it is? And the answer is, it's better than what everyone says it is. Colombian coffee is some of our most favorite coffee in the entire world, and in fact, I got a tattoo because of it. I am guilty of being a huge Colombian coffee snob, and I think that it is by far one of the best coffees in the world. But does it live up to Brazilian standards, which is the #1 export of coffee? We'll have to see. But tomorrow we head to Brazil, so we're going to really see whether it actually is better coffee or not. It is ranked number 1, Colombia's number 3, so we're gonna have to check it out tomorrow to learn if Brazilian coffee is better than Colombian coffee. Let's get ready for some Brazilian coffee, shall we? The last time you saw us, we were in Medellin, Colombia, and today we're in Brazil. Over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be visiting a couple of different coffee shops to compare whether we think Brazilian coffee or Colombian coffee is better. Thanks, Barry. Good morning and welcome to Sao Paulo, Brazil. If you're just tuning in, we are trying coffees in 2 of the biggest coffee regions in the world, Colombia versus Brazil. We just spent 2 weeks in Colombia drinking all of the coffee in Medellin, Colombia, and now we're gonna check out to see if Colombian coffee is better or worse or the same as Brazilian coffee. So our first stop of the day is a coffee shop in Sao Paulo called, it's in Portuguese, but the English translation is coffee, which I kind of love. It was like edgy and fun in here, which is why we were like, let's stop in here and try it out. And we ordered 2 different kinds of coffee here. Both of them were in the traditional Brazilian drip style. So literally it was like a pour over and this little tiny like pour over cup thing for individual cups. The pour over lid on each of our coffees and then put like spoons in the amount of coffee that she needed and then did individual pour overs for both of these. In Colombia, they do this method called the Chemex method. It's essentially a pour over, but it's like in a big bowl and then you have to pour from the container into the coffee mug. But this one had individual pour overs, which I think is gonna be extra good. We got 2 different coffees here. One is called coffee, which is like the brew for this particular coffee shop. And then we got another one called Gozalândia, which is another coffee from this region in Brazil. So let's try it out. I'm gonna try them back to back. In my left hand, I have the Gozalândia, and in my right hand, I have the local brew for this coffee shop. So I'm gonna try the local brew first. Uh-oh. Okay, I'm gonna try the Gozalândia one. Wow, those are so different. And when you taste them back to back like that, they're totally different. Okay. Woo, this might stir up some controversy. And we are biased for Colombia in general on most things, but this coffee is good. It's like very strong. It almost tastes more like a dark roast, and Colombia tastes more like a medium or a light roast. The Colombian coffee is much more like fruity, and this is like has a lot more of the coffee flavors rather than like a fruity light flavor. Ooh, I think I like the house brewed coffee the most. Although this is really good, but the house brewed has tons of flavor. Ooh. I also just find it so ironic that I have a tattoo that says I love coffee, and this is what the coffee shop is called.
Brazil produces about 1/3 of the world's coffee, making this country by far the world's largest producers, with the production mostly coming from the southern states, including Sao Paulo, which is where we tried coffee here in Brazil.
All right, that coffee was pretty good. Honestly, I had such high expectations for Colombian coffee, and I love Colombian coffee, but that was pretty good. The one that Sam said that she liked more, it kind of tasted like black tea, almost like coffee mixed with black tea. It was good, but the other one we got, I thought was much better. But the area we're in is kind of like a middle area of a bunch of neighborhoods, and it seems that there are tons of coffee shops over here. We happened to walk by that one as we're going to the one we're actually going to now, and we decided to stop off on that one first because the name is fun, and it looked like a local little artisan kind of coffee shop. The price of those coffees were very reasonable. I'm not sure of the prices of coffee here in Brazil, but those were 10 real each cup, which is roughly 2 USD per cup, which I think is pretty good. And so far the prices here of the coffee versus Colombia are actually much more reasonable here than in Medellin.
The southern states have an environment and a climate that provides the ideal growing conditions for all coffee. And in fact, 80% of the coffee that's grown in Brazil is Arabic coffee. We also had heard that espresso is one of the most popular coffee drinks in Brazil. So let's go check out one of the most famous espressos, shall we?
All right, so our next coffee spot is called Cafe Floresta, and I chose this for a very specific reason. But the main reason why I chose this is because this is kind of a staple here in Sao Paulo, at least, maybe Brazil, maybe there might be more. But it started in the early 70s as just like a typical coffee spot. But now it's just kind of like an iconic coffee place here in Sao Paulo. But apparently they still serve to this day one of the best cups of coffee that you can buy here in Brazil. I've read that on multiple different platforms, so we're gonna go find out if that's true. Ooh, so hot. It's very, very rich and intense, but very, very good.
Is it hot?
Ooh, so hot. It's very, very rich and intense, but very, very good. Okay, so we got into a bit of trouble filming inside of this mall because the coffee shop is actually inside of this little mall strip area. The espresso shot, you should definitely come here because we met these people that were sitting next to us. They were basically telling us that Cafe Floresta is like an institution here and that we were good to come here. Whew, I am wired and it is hot, but the coffee was very good. You should definitely come here. They had many types of coffee that you could get, but the espresso shot I think is like the quintessential coffee. But we hope you enjoyed this Colombian versus Brazilian coffee shop video. We had an amazing time doing it, but let us know in the comments what you prefer, Brazilian or Colombian. It's kind of hard to say. I think we're biased towards Colombian coffee, but I will say I'm very surprised at the Brazilian coffee here because it was very, very good. But if you like this video, please give it a like. Consider subscribing. We have a lot of fun things planned in Brazil and beyond. We have a lot coming up in the future. And until next time, we'll see you on the go.
So if you followed us in, and it's where it's like this big bulb in Colombia where they do like, they roast or and then we got another one called Gozalanda. Ready to come now? Oh, I should probably smile in that. In my left hand, I have the Gozalanda.
All right. Check it. Lighting.
Yeah, it's good.
We filmed a little bit inside, but I do want to quickly talk about the coffee because the espresso shot was very intense. I'm very wired now. I don't know if it's because we just had a cup of coffee and I don't know if no, but seriously, and we're definitely wired from all the coffee that we drank from it.